also unwritten rules around coach of the year conversation. Like it seems to go to the coach that's of the team that had the lowest expectations that then did well, instead of actually the coach of whatever team is performing the best that year, which I kind of do. You know what's interesting? I feel like it would seem more in my head fair, quote unquote, if it was switched. If the MVP of the league, so the player went to like the best player on kind of the worst team, like the player that was helping a quote unquote bad team succeed. So if Patrick Mahomes is helping the Chiefs that would definitely not be in playoff contention, potentially go even further than that because he's so good. Where I think the coach of the year should go to the team that's performing the best because they're like responsible for what's that quote? Any coach can make C players play like C players, but can you make your A players perform like A players or something like that?
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Okay.
Essentially, I know
I
what
don't
you're
know.
trying to
I
say.
think Kyle Shanahan is unfairly not very high up in the coach of the year conversation.
I, I think your dad has a great comment in the comment talking about how Christian McCaffrey broke records in the NFL, tied a record for the most consecutive touchdowns. He's about to break or potentially tie um, Jerry Rice's single season touchdown record. Right? That's a great comment. That's a great point. Like we're talking history here. Like that's
Yeah.
a great point. So I just wanted to throw it out there. But I personally don't think Kyle Shanahan is the coach of the year. Um, this was what you expected from this team when you have this much talent. You expected to be this good, right? Now you look at a couple teams across the NFL. Two teams that I think have the coach of the year candidate that would be just above Kyle for what their team was supposed to be and the situation that they've had. D'Amico Ryans and Shane Steichen over with the Indianapolis Colts. The reason why you have both of those, Steichen preparing for a rookie quarterback. Rookie quarterback goes down early. Jonathan Taylor's been in and out of the lineup. Has had a lot of injuries. Winning football. They're a playoff contending team. They might make the wild card. You look at D'Amico Ryans, by far the worst,
I think
one of the worst
D'Amico
teams.
should or potentially will win.
He's up there. He's up there with Shane Steichen because those two teams were expected to be bottom five teams in the NFL. People were expecting both of those teams to be on the bottom five in terms of record wise. You have those two teams winning. Now you have what it looks like coach of the year. That to me, a coach of the year is a coach who gets the best out of their team, and those two coaches are doing that. Now, no Jonathan Taylor. Who thought Zach Moss was going to be tearing it up in Indianapolis? No one. Who thought that we were going to have the quarterback in Indianapolis? I cannot think of his name.
And that way couldn't I mean he'd be lower than D'Amico than Shane Steichen, but in the conversation somewhere, I feel like even Sean McVay could be in there. Because
I
the
think
Rams were supposed to be like Aaron Donald and trash. Like Matthew
you
Stafford
could
had like
also throw
one
that in there
elbow.
too.
Cooper Kupp was out for the first like 10 games.
I agree because you have those two coaches, right? Like, though you could talk about three. Like, I think coach of the year is literally what it says. Coach of the year, the coach who coached his ass off that year to get his team, who was expected and league wide expected to be trashed, into the playoffs or very very close to the playoffs. Now, I think whoever makes the playoffs out of the Colts or the Houston Texans, I think that's going to be the coach of the year. I think Shane Steichen and D'Amico Ryans have a strong case. Kyle Shanahan has a strong case because his team is 11 and or what are we 11 and 3, right? I believe could be wrong. I think we're 11 and 3. But you have us at 11-3. You could potentially finish off the season as 14 and 3 with a team that is absolutely stacked after losing 3 in a row. Turned it around after the bye week. You could also have the conversation of that's what a great coach does. Your team's about to go downhill, fixes things at the bye week, gets you back on track. You become the hottest team in the NFL, and you win out. That's also what a coach of the year conversation could be in. So, 3 coaches of the year, and I don't think anyone else should be in the conversation, to be honest with you.
I like that a lot. I like that yeah, I just thought that was an interesting conversation. I just think that it's all of these awards are kind of I love talking about the unwritten rules that everyone seems to like know. And you're just kind of like, how did this even come up? Now, we've talked a lot about how incredible this 49ers team is. We went off on their offense. You did mention one defensive player, which was Nick Bosa. I will say, I think